Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I showed you a demo of how you could potentially chat with your console. So using natural language, either through typing into a chat dialogue or just dictating into your phone or your computer, how you could potentially interact with your console in more of a natural language way and kind of as a remote control. And that was pretty cool. And I think that could be helpful just for doing one-off things like change the name of this or change the value of that. If you just want to do it in a different way, or you can't remember where it is, or just having another way to do it. But what I want to show you today is that I went a little bit farther with it because I got some positive responses. And I want to show you today a demo of how I can do a more complete initial console setup and what the vision of this might be for the future. So I made a little desktop app here and I can open that up. And I made it so that you can upload files. So let me move myself. Oh, wow, that video is really blown out. That's funny. So I can upload files here. So I'm going to put this stage plot here and it looks like this. Okay. Oh, sorry. Should leave that up there. So it looks like this. I got this from a friendly person that was trying this out for me, and they said that I could use this demo to show how you might set up the console initially for a small concert event. So I've got my stage plot there, and the prompt that I'm going to put in, I know some of you guys wanted to see me dictate this in there, but I don't want to get it wrong. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in here. So you might write this out and you might say something like, hey, I've got this medium show coming up where I have these 5 members and a few more things about this. Now, this isn't very much information, but what I have in here is something that I'm calling a show Bible. So when you load this app for the very first time, what it's going to ask you is for a project location. And so I've put that in here already. So over here, I have that here. So when you select that location, it just creates this little file for you. And then from here, I can even edit it. So in that file, I've put some instructions for what I want it to do. Sorry, that's so small. Let me see if I can increase the font. And so you can see here, it's going to follow my instructions for how to set up this console, just like I would maybe teach an assistant to do it. Say, hey, first update all the names, then do the colors per my preferences. So then later in the document, I say exactly what I want those colors to be. And I had to experiment with this for a while. And so this will lead into why I'm making some changes in the future. But this is just a demo of how I can write out my preferences for how a console should be set up just in natural language, and then basically use it with any console is the vision, right? So instead of having a bunch of different templates and snapshots for a bunch of different consoles and models and brands and manufacturers, I just have one, and then I can use that with any brand and manufacturer. Okay, so I've written that. So I'm going to go ahead and send this off, and my assistant's going to start working on that. And so it is going to combine this message that I've sent it, plus the stage plot, plus what I put into the show Bible there, that text document. And it's going to start making those updates for me. And that's going to take a little while because it's writing them all out. If you've ever worked with like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, you can see that it's streaming those words back to you on the screen. And so it's kind of building all of those changes in real time. And it would be kind of fun to see that actually as it's writing those out. But anyway, that's why it's not immediate. So what do you do at this time? You could do anything, right? But you could work on other parts of the console. So I told it to set up that stuff, but maybe I didn't tell it anything about the inserts. Maybe I didn't tell it anything about how, I want my matrices set up. And so I could go through and start working on those. Okay, so you see it's come back and it start working on some stuff. So It's still doing some more changes, but with its first set of changes, I guess that took about 20 or 30 seconds as long as I was talking. And you see it's done all the naming and the colors per my preferences. And it looks like it got that far, and it looks like it went ahead and did the buses as well. So we've got some wedges and IEMs here, and it may have routed some stuff as well here. So nothing to that wedge. So it looks like it didn't do the routing yet. But if we go here and look, you can see I've given it a few things to do. It turned on the compressor, and then probably the next thing will come back with it's some of the routing, so it will route some of these channels to those buses. One thing that I like about this is that it helps me remember some of the limitations that consoles have. So this is Mixing Station, and it is showing an offline version of the X32. With the X32, there are certain limitations around channel linking. And so I told it about those limitations, and I said, hey, make sure to put, the channels that I want linked together in the right way. So on an X32, those need to be starting on odd numbers. So in this case, we have overhead left and right on channels 7 and 8, and then keys, same thing. Except it looks like it did those. Did it do those? I'm just looking down. Yeah, it looks like it did those wrong, because we want those on 13, 14, 15, 16, I think. And this will lead more into where I have going for the vision for this in the future. So, for example, I could keep working on this and put in more restrictions. And in my instructions, I could say things like, hey, you put the keys starting on the wrong channel. Can you just move those now? Or I could go back to my show Bible and I can open this up and I could find where I maybe made a mistake about those keys and say, hey, this is super critical. Make sure that you always do this correct. Channels that need linking need to start in the right place, stuff like that. But what I think might be better is to try to combine this probabilistic outcome of working with any kind of large language model and a more deterministic outcome, which I think is what we want when we are setting up a console, because we really want to be careful and not have any tiny setting that's missing. There's all these little things and all these different layers with digital consoles, and we don't want to make a mistake in that regard. So what I'm going to do next with this project is create kind of a collaborative spreadsheet where you can still do this kind of setup where you just tell the assistant, hey, do a bunch of stuff for me, and it does it for you. Or you can say, hey, do a bunch of stuff for me, but just push it onto the spreadsheet. And then you'll be able to see an overview of all of the settings before you actually push that to the console. And that way there's kind of this collaborative view, this collaborative spreadsheet where you can be getting some help with it, but you can be working at the same time, and you can quickly verify that it has all of the settings that you want, because it's pretty easy for us as humans to just quickly overview, look at a spreadsheet, and it's just easier to see, okay, I see that, Phantom Power is on all of the channels that I wanted it on, all the channels are named, or maybe some of them it missed, little things like that. So I could talk more about that because I think there's a lot of ways that could be helpful, but that is the next thing I want to implement here. Now, if this project interests you, I am looking for early adopters. I have a few people that have signed up to test it out already. So I'm interested in people that A, want to be early adopters and want to test this out, but B, also want to put some money into it, because I do want this to be a product. And I am thinking that I will offer some kind of, really nice lifetime price package to those people that want to jump in to this thing while it's early and still doesn't work perfectly and still kind of buggy. Let me just say maybe a couple of other limitations. Right now, it only works with Mixing Station. So I realize that may be a limitation for some of you, but a lot of you are already using Mixing Station anyway. but that's what it works with. And its primary use case right now is really with console setup. That just feels like a better use case, honestly, because that's where you need to do like a bunch of work at once. And it's just safer, right? So if you're just doing this in offline mode and something unexpected happens, then there's no problem with it, right? You could just start over again or turn it off or whatever. So when I posted that first video, a lot of the kind of warnings or complaints were, what if it does something crazy during a show? I think one of the ways to avoid that is just use this for a very data heavy use case, like during console setup. I'm thinking of some ways to protect against that though. So for example, you might have a switch on this interface here that is called like Brave mode or something like that, where you just let the assistant make changes whenever it wants, or you could switch that off and then it would always, get your consent first. So you might say, hey, change the name of channel 1 to RF1. And then it says, great, here's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this change. Do you want me to do it? And then you say, yes, confirmed. And so there's, sort of more of this back and forth. And I have that turned off right now because I just want it to work quickly. And I want this to be more of a fast moving MVP that gets things done really quickly, instead of what it could have done is written all of this out and say, great, here's my plan. This is what I'm going to do. And then you say, great, do it. So you could have more checks and balances like that. So I have some ideas of how to make this safe and more reliable and more useful. If you're interested in getting involved, then just send me a message and we'll set up a time to chat. Thanks.